Welcome back to Mimi's Organic Eats. Today we're making chocolate chewy caramel candies. These soft and chewy caramel candies are filled with rich dark chocolate and topped with a flaky sea salt. You only need 5 ingredients, no thermometer is needed, and they are so easy to make. This true caramel candy is one you won't be able to stop eating. Let me show you how to make it. First step to make these chocolate caramel chewy candies is we're going to line an 8 by 8 inch pan with parchment paper. Now this is super important because we don't want the caramels to stick, and this is going to let us easily remove them once they're set. But if you guys have individual caramel molds, you can also use those as well. So we're going to need 2 pieces of parchment paper and some scissors because we're going to cut them to fit exactly the length of the pan going both ways. So we have like a sling. So we're going to do one going this way and then one going this way. And then binder clips are super helpful. That way you can clip down each side. If you guys don't have binder clips, then you can just crease the edges of the parchment paper all along the sides here. That will kind of help keep it in place. Plus, the weight of the caramel once it's poured in will also help do that as well. So now we need to grease our pan just a little bit with a little bit of butter. So I just have about a teaspoon of butter here. We're just going to grease this parchment paper really well with our hands. This is going to ensure that the caramel doesn't stick and it comes out perfectly. You don't want to have like big portions of butter, just grease it just lightly. Now we're just going to set this aside. We just wanted to have it ready so that when the caramel is ready, we can just immediately pour it in. So now we want to get the rest of our ingredients so we have everything ready. If you guys follow along, then you know that we're making a true caramel here. This is the technique of dry burning the sugar, which is going to result in caramelization, which is what's going to give you that caramel flavor. So we have 340 grams of organic cane sugar in my 3-quart pot. I love using a 3-quart pot. I think it's the perfect size for this. And I am really obsessed with these Our-Place titanium pots. You guys, these have the most even heat I've ever experienced, and they're perfect for making caramel. And then you know we're gonna need a high heat spatula because when you're dry burning the sugar and you're cooking something over the heat for a longer period of time like we're doing today, you can warp, bend, or even break off a piece of your spatula in your caramel, which I have done before. Then we're gonna need 113 grams of salted butter. And then we have our heavy whipping cream, which we're gonna need half a cup. And then of course, in order to make these chocolate caramels chocolate, we are going to need some chocolate. So I love using mini organic dark chocolate chips. Anytime I have to melt chocolate, this is what I'm using here. But if you guys want to use a chopped up dark chocolate bar, you can totally use that too. Just make sure to chop it into small pieces so that it combines easily and quickly into the caramel. And then we have 28 grams of sifted Dutch cocoa powder. You guys want to make sure that your cocoa powder is sifted before adding it into the caramel. We just want to have it ready to go. So now we're going to put the sugar over low to medium heat. And now I say low to medium heat whenever making caramel because you really need it to be hot enough to melt the sugar and caramelize it, which is what's going to give it flavor. But you want to have it low enough where it doesn't burn. So this could be a balancing act depending on what kind of stove you guys have. If your heat is too low though, when you add in your butter and your cream, it's not going to combine completely and you're going to have a chunky caramel. So that's where the balance is really important. So I have a gas range, so I'm usually more towards low, but if you have electric, I highly recommend being towards medium. So once we put the caramel over the heat, we're just going to let the sugar warm up for a few minutes. As soon as the sugar starts to warm and cook, it will begin to melt on the bottom layer. And you want to lightly stir this with a high heat spatula. Continue stirring the sugar so that the melted sugar kind of comes to the top, and the sugar that hasn't melted yet will kind of sink to the bottom. This will allow all the sugar to melt. We want to make sure all the sugar is completely melted and there are no chunks before adding in the butter. If you have sugar chunks at this time and you add in the butter, those sugar chunks will never melt. So once the sugar is completely melted and there's no chunks, then we're going to add in our butter. Be careful because steam will rise up. You want to make sure you're stirring rapidly to combine the butter completely. This will prevent the sugar and butter from burning. Once the butter is completely melted, you may still see a little bit of separation from the butter and the sugar. That's totally okay. Now it's time to add in the cream. We're going to add in the cream just a little bit at a time. Because the cream is colder than the caramel mixture, steam will rise up. Make sure to stir vigorously when adding in a little bit of cream. Then add in a little bit more. Then a little bit more. Then continue to stir until all the cream is completely combined and you have a smooth and creamy caramel. Now we're going to remove the caramel from the heat and it's time to add in the chocolate. So now we're going to add in our Dutch cocoa powder and our dark chocolate. Then we're going to stir to combine the chocolate completely into the caramel. Now we're just going to transfer the chocolate caramel into our prepared baking pan. So now we just want to let the caramel set before cutting them into squares. This will usually take about 4 hours, or you can just even leave them overnight. So once the caramel is cooled completely, now it's time to remove it from the pan and we're going to cut them into squares. You can cut these into whatever size that you like, but I like to cut these into 36 little squares. So this is going to be cutting the caramel in half and then cutting each of those halves into thirds and then doing the same thing on the other side. And now if you guys want to add a little bit of flaky sea salt on top, you can do that now. This part is totally optional, but if you know me, then you know I'm obsessed with adding salt to every dessert. And now these delicious caramels are ready to enjoy. And now we have the most delicious chocolate chewy caramel candies. The best way to store these is to wrap them up individually with a piece of wax paper, so let me show you guys how to do that. These homemade caramels will stay good at room temperature for up to 2 weeks, and you can even freeze them for longer. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment below. And if you want more true caramel recipes just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me next time in the kitchen. I need all that cocoa.